So in Workplace 20 math here, we're taking a look at 6.3 today, and we're talking about credit cards. Okay, credit cards today. So I think I asked this before. Do any of you have a credit card? I don't know if you guys can get it. You have a credit card? Okay. So if you have a credit card, hopefully you know all about your credit card and you use it wisely, because credit cards are special. Basically, it's special loans. It's the loans that have a really high interest rate. So if you miss a payment or you don't pay it off right away, then your interest is really, really high compared to other loans. They're really handy, but you can really get hammered with interest. So in the last section, we calculated how much interest you would earn on different investments. If you gave money to the bank or some kind of investment firm, they would pay you a little bit of interest. And if it was compound interest, we learned how to do that. Simple interest, we learned how to do that. However, if you borrow money or use a credit card and do not pay it off each month, the finance charges or rates of interest are much higher on what you owe. While you may get as little as 1.5% on an investment, you may have to pay 19.5% or more, and a lot of cards are more, up to 22 or 25%, on a loan or an unpaid credit card balance. So credit cards are very handy, but they can be very tricky. You can get dinged with a pretty steep interest fee really, really quickly without even knowing it, if you forget once. So here's the example. All right, the example is Sheng Li has $4,384.76 unpaid balance on his credit card, and it charges an interest rate of 19.5% per annum. Remember, per annum is per year, right? The payment was due on March 23rd. Okay. So example 1 says his minimum payment, A, is $50 or 10% of the outstanding balance, whichever is more. So the greater of the two. So what is the minimum he must pay? Let's take a look at the solution for A first. Again, it's in your book. And let's make this a bit bigger so we can read that a bit better. All right. So we have to find out what 10% of this balance is and compare that to $50. So 10% of something, you take that something and you multiply it by the decimal form of 10%, right? What's the decimal form of 10%? It is 0.10. So we multiply the balance times 0.10, and this is the number we get, 43.85. And we notice that that is less than $50. So again, with the credit cards, there's a minimum payment that is due. And if a certain percentage of your balance is more, you have to pay that. But if it's less, you have to pay the minimum. So you have to pay the bigger one of the two, so the payment is $50. Okay? Now, question B says, what will his balance be on April 15th? Oh, that's my birthday, April 15th. So March 23rd to April 15th. So what we have to do is we have to count the number of days, right? Because this unpaid balance has been sitting on the credit card and accumulating daily interest. Okay, credit cards also, remember when we said if you calculate interest yearly, it's not as much as if you calculate monthly and so on. Well, it's not as much as if you calculate daily. And of course, the credit cards will calculate daily, so they can charge you the most interest. So it's a yearly interest rate of 19.5%. That as a decimal is this. So the number of days between March 23rd and April 15th, and if you can get on a calendar, wherever, 23rd, and you can count the number of days to April 15th, and the number of days there will be 24 days. Okay? 24 days. So hopefully you're piecing this together. We've got our balance, we've got the number of days, we've got the interest rate, and we're going to calculate. Now, the thing is, though, this kind of interest, okay, for this situation is simple interest. It's simple interest, okay? So that's good. For this question, it's simple interest, and I think for most of these, you can calculate just the simple interest like this example, okay? Not compound, but just simple. So the interest is P times R times T. So the principal is the amount of money on the card. The rate is 19.5, okay? But this is going to be well, you can divide this one by 365, or this by 365. It doesn't really matter. You probably might want to do this. PRT, probably be best to do this. 4384.76 times the yearly interest rate divided by 365. That would probably make a little more sense. And then times 24 days. So that's the principal. This is the rate per day, and this is the number of days. Okay? So they show it just a little bit differently here. They put the 365 over here, which is the same. So this interest is 56.22, okay, for that many days. So you divide the yearly interest rate by 365, and then that's the interest per day that you get charged. And so the total is going to be your original balance plus this interest. Okay, so that's a pretty sizable balance, but you can see like not even a month goes by and you have $56 in charges. So it gets pretty steep. It can get pretty steep. And that to me seems even a little bit low for this balance, but if you go a couple months or 2-3 months, you know, it adds up really, really quickly. Okay, so what did we learn here in this example? Well, first of all, credit cards have a higher interest rate, right? They charge you quite a bit higher. They charge interest daily, and it's usually simple interest per day, okay? Simple interest on the balance. All right. So let's see. Here we go. So build your skills. Let's do number 1 together here. Okay. Calculate the interest due on the following credit card balances. So we have an unpaid balance of, that's the principal, right? $20.76.54. The rate is 19.5%. That's per year. And we have 15 days. So R is going to be 0.1950 divided by what? Is this getting charged per year or per day? Per. This percentage is per year, but remember, credit cards charge daily interest. So this is divided by 365. That's your R. And your T then is going to be this 15 days. Okay? So you multiply that together to get your I. That's 2076.54 times this 0.1950 over 365 times 15. And I'll let you guys do that on your calculator. Make sure you can get that on your calculator. And I'll give you the answer in a second. Anybody get this number?
I do.
All right, so on your calculator may not look exactly like mine, but what you want to do is you want to take your original, 76.54, times, now if you're going to do this as a fraction there, you might want to use some brackets. 0.1950 divided by 365, and then end brackets, and then multiply by 15. So 16.64. Okay. All right. So you guys, I tell you what, you guys need to do B and C right now. Very simple. B and C, and then that'll be your first part of 6.3 lesson here. Okay. So go ahead and work on B and C, and then you can move to the next page when you get done that. And then 2 and 3 after that. Okay? So do 1, B, and C right now, and then 2 and 3 will be your homework.